Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this Friday edition of Renegade Wrestling. I am your host, J.J. Williams. Thank you for joining me here, as always, on the Casa D18 Studios YouTube channel, as well as on UnlimitedRadio247.net. To all the Unlimited people, I hope you've enjoyed the first week of shows here from the Casa D18 Studios channel on the website. We've got pay-per-view predictions for Final Resolution coming on Sunday, so be on the lookout for that, as well as post-show thoughts, either Sunday night or first thing Monday morning, depending on how quickly we can get those uploaded. So be on the lookout for that as well. And then back to the regular schedule come Monday. Renegade Wrestling in the pink, Stat Boy Rants, Chicks on Wrestling, and then another episode of Renegade to round out the week. Also, I will be being interviewed by Sean Cloth of Lowdown Radio on UnlimitedRadio247.net this coming Tuesday the 11th at 6 p.m. I don't know what he's got in store for me question-wise, but I'm looking forward to it. This will be my first full-on radio interview ever, so I'm really excited about that. Make sure everyone tunes in to UnlimitedRadio247.net Tuesday 6 o'clock Pacific time, so that would be 9 o'clock Eastern time, to check out my interview with him. Alright, now for what you're here for, we're going to get down to the questions. From Facebook, Ricky Lawson asks, "Hey JJ, what do you think about former stars such as Ken Doane, aka Kenny Dykstra, and Tyler Rex speaking out against John Cena on Twitter, saying he isn't the guy WWE made him out to be? In your opinion, do you think they're speaking the truth, or are they just bitter?" Well, since I don't know John Cena personally, I can't say whether or not they're speaking the truth or not. Hell, I don't even know Cena professionally aside from what I've seen on television. So I don't know what his working relationship is with the guys or anything like that. I can't really answer that. As far as bitterness, I'm sure they're bitter. Anytime a person with talent is being held down by someone who displays as little talent on television as Cena does, people are going to get bitter. Everyone always likes to rag Cena on his wrestling ability and say that he's a shitty wrestler. Truth be told, John Cena is not a bad wrestler. Go back and watch his early matches with Kurt Angle from 2002 to even 2004, before WrestleMania when he got the United States title from the Big Show. Go back and watch those matches. They were really good. Go watch his parking lot brawl with Eddie Guerrero again. John Cena was able to wrestle and brawl and put on good matches. Once the Doctor of Thugonomics thing got over, his moveset got limited. So, and Kenny Dykstra was by and far, I thought, the standout of the Spirit Squad, with Nikki, aka Dolph Ziggler, in second place. But Kenny ran his mouth, got himself fired. Now look at where Dolph Ziggler is. So I definitely think there's a little bit of bitterness on their behalf, because Kenny Dykstra was a talented wrestler, Tyler Rex was a talented wrestler, John Cena is portrayed weekly as a non-talented wrestler, as Mr. Superman, 5 Moves of Doom. So I definitely think, like I said, there's a little bit of bitterness on their behalf, but, can be understandable too. Don Marlin has 2 questions. Do you ever see Jeff coming back? And do you ever see Jimmy Jacobs or Necro Butcher in the WWE or TNA? Necro Butcher will never be in WWE or TNA. Not as Necro Butcher. He would have to be watered down immensely to be in one of those companies. Necro Butcher will never be anything more than an independent wrestling star. Jimmy Jacobs, I believe, was in TNA for a cup of coffee. I could see him coming back around Destination next time when they always bring in past X Division stars. As far as WWE, I don't see him in the WWE unless Tyler Black really catches fire. Seth Rollins. If Tyler Black really catches fire and starts moving, there's the possibility that we would see Jimmy Jacobs in WWE and possibly an Age of the Fall reunion. But you never know. Do I ever see Jeff coming back? I addressed this on the Casa D18 State of the Studios address. It's completely up to Jeff at this point. Jeff is burnt out. He's tired of wrestling. You know, he just needed a break from it all. So, the door is open if he wants to down the line. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. You know? Over on YouTube, Rabid Pit 189. If WWE were to put together a legend show featuring solely of performers that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame, what do you think the main event would be? Well, you can probably eliminate a main event of somebody like Hogan versus Piper because of Piper's hips replacements and Hogan's too, plus the fact that Hogan works for the competition. So based off of people that are in their prime, can still go, and are on decent terms with the WWE, the main event I would book would be Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. We saw that Steamboat could still go at 25. WrestleMania, you know, and Shawn has only been out of action for a couple of years. You know, a little bit of time in the ring, get some rust off, climb into the ring, and they can definitely steal the show. I have no doubt that that would be a locker room sellout. Seriously. Nappy 1987. Hey JJ, in your opinion, who is the best wrestler ever who made wrestling look real without hurting his opponent? For me, it has to be Chris Benoit. Keep up the good shows. Benoit is definitely up there. Bret Hart is definitely up there. Made wrestling look real without ever injuring anybody. Another good one is Kurt Angle. Those would probably be my top three as far as making wrestling look good without hurting anybody, is Bret, Angle, and Benoit. New York Giants Finest 71. Hey JJ, I have two questions for you, but if you can't answer both, I understand. What do you think the next era of wrestling is? And two, do you think that the WWE is making Daniel Bryan a mid-card wrestler? I'm very upset with the way WWE used The Miz, and I have a feeling Daniel Bryan is going down the same path. I mean, come on, The Miz only gets one run with the WWE title? I definitely think that as of right now, they're using Daniel Bryan as more of a mid-card wrestler. They've got their top spots sealed currently with Cena, Orton, Punk, Sheamus, Alberto, Dolph. They've got their guys locked in there right now. So, unfortunately, guys like Miz, Bryan, Kane are resorted to mid-card status. Now, that doesn't mean that he can't be pushed back up at any time. As far as I'm concerned, Punk and Bryan still have a rivalry that they need to resolve. Who truly is the best in the world? Because Bryan Danielson was claiming that moniker on the Independence long before Jericho started saying he was the best in the world at what he does, and Punk had that slogan on a t-shirt. So yeah, I'm definitely a little bit bummed about the way they're using Bryan as a mid-carder. I totally agree with you about The Miz. He definitely needs another run with the title down the line. Maybe not just yet because he's just starting to get into his babyface character. Maybe wait a little bit longer, maybe have him win Money in the Bank again next year as babyface and cash in and have a run with the title that way. As far as the next era of wrestling, I'm going to dub it the Era of Honor. With so many ROH guys in the company right now, you know, Tyler Black, Claudio Castagnoli, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Matt Sydal, you got Chris Hero in developmental, you've got, you know, Truth and Kofi shaking hands in the Fatal 4-Way that we had on Raw this past week. I'm going to dub it the Era of Honor. Plus, the Shield said that they were out to, you know, fight for honor and justice. So, I'm going to dub this next era of wrestling the Era of Honor. We'll see if, you know, it keeps to that, but that's kind of the way I'm thinking it's looking at right now. Let's see what we got here. I drink lots of beer. Do you think the WWE dropped the ball with Jack Swagger in the sense that he's a modern-day Kurt Angle, with the Angle being the American/Olympic hero and Swagger with the all-American American gimmick? I totally think they dropped the ball with Jack Swagger. A lot of people on the net hate on Swagger because he's not charismatic enough. He's got the lisp, so he doesn't have good promos. It's like, so did Dusty Rhodes. He had some of the best promos ever. Got to give him time to shine. I definitely think they dropped the ball with Jack Swagger. To call him a modern day Angle, I think, is a little unfair, since Angle isn't exactly retired or dead. You know, he's in the competition still being Angle. But they definitely could have had Swagger kick up to that, you know, American hero status that Angle had within the WWE. Red 56 Reigns. Hey JJ, I was wondering what your feelings are on the Clique. What are your feelings about the 5 men who made up the Clique, and what are their good and bad points? And what do you feel about the groups all over Impact on the business? Wow. That's a very interesting question. I never had an issue with the Clique. Gotta keep in mind, by the time I came into wrestling, the Clique was already broken up and separated. So, I had no real feelings about them because, you know, the main run of the Clique was already gone. You know, Hall and Nash were in WCW, Shawn was retired because of his back injury, and Hunter and X-Pac were running WWF and DX. You know, so it wasn't as in your face, I guess, as it was back in 94, 95, 96, when it was really running strong. My feelings about the 5 men that made up the Clique: when I first got into wrestling, I was a big X-Pac fan. As I got more into wrestling, I stopped liking X-Pac because I saw that he wasn't as great as I originally thought he was. Nash, I thought, was a decent big man until he came back to WWF with the NWO and freaking was tearing his quads just stepping over the top rope and shit. Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, I thought was kind of underrated in the fact that he never really got that world title push. I think the Razor Ramon gimmick definitely could have done that. Scott Hall in WCW, not as much, because you're swimming in there with the land of Hogan and Sting and Flair and Nash and Goldberg and DDP. It wasn't going to happen for him there, but I think it could have happened hot off the heels of his feud with Shawn Michaels in WWF. Let me see. You've got Triple H, who I really liked when I first got into wrestling. Loved him in DX. Loved the whole McMahon-Helmsley era. Backstage business-wise, there's things I've heard about Triple H that I don't really respect. And how he looks out for his friends and puts people that are, workout buddies ahead of other people that are more deserving. Cough, Sheamus, cough. And as for Shawn Michaels, it's like his demons are behind him, but he is still arguably one of the greatest performers of all time. Again, locker room politics notwithstanding, and a lot of that was gone into on the Bret vs. Shawn DVD. Locker room politics notwithstanding, Shawn Michaels and even Triple H are two of the best performers in the time that I've been watching. So I will never take anything away from them on that level. Last question for today comes from Liam Ingram on YouTube. He says, "Hey JJ, how do you feel about Wade Barrett currently in a feud for the Intercontinental title? In my opinion, by now he should be in the World Heavyweight title picture. And I think he would have been had he not gotten injured. There was rumor going around that he was supposed to win Money in the Bank this year. But he wasn't ready to come back, so then they gave the briefcase to other people. But Wade Barrett definitely would be in the world title picture right now had he not gotten injured, in my opinion. I think this feud with Kofi over the IC title is a great way to elevate him back to that, because it was his IC title run that previously made him seem like a good World Heavyweight title competitor. So give him another run with the gold, get back in the swing of things, and then come Money in the Bank next year, maybe he'll be another one of the briefcase holders also. So, that wraps up Renegade Wrestling this week. Thank you again to our Casa D18 Studios faithful. Thank you again to our new viewers on UnlimitedRadio247.net. Once again, make sure you check me out on Tuesday, December 11th, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. That's 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be being interviewed by Sean Cloth on UnlimitedRadio247.net Lowdown Radio Show. And until then, thank you for watching.